This is a presentation about corporal punishment in Vietnam. The presentation will be divided into 4 parts: graphs, impact, proposed solutions, and conclusion. First, I will show 2 graphs I made from secondary data I collect. The first graph explains parent attitude toward corporal punishment. Similar to Japanese parents, Vietnamese parents heavily rely on corporal punishment as child discipline. There is a Vietnamese idiom that means, love by spanking, hate by spoiling. It is a devotion for a person to be willing to be cruel and violent to correct the other person into the right path. A child also did not know as much as an adult. But I think what is right is subjective, and to just brush it off with spanking is definitely not the way to make someone understand the true subject. The second graph explains the percentage of children that suffer corporal punishment. The schools are far less willing to punish the child than the parent in both US and Vietnam. Adults in the US are also far less likely to use corporal punishment, which might be because of the Children Protection Law. Corporal punishment in Vietnam is widely accepted as a social norm. No children tried to report. The next issue is the impact of this corporal punishment on the family. The first problem is the child's physical health. It's common to use rulers and stick for corporal punishment, which is hurt but don't leave scars or injuries. But in a more extreme case, especially if the child becomes underage labor for shady businesses, even the knife, the bat, and the pestle are used. The damage is not something to be underestimated in the child's body. Corporal punishment also affects the child's psychological well-being. Corporal punishment is not an appropriate way to discipline children because it was sad, scary, and humiliating. Furthermore, corporal punishment leads them to become aggressive. Violent discipline has its negative impacts, such as low academic performance, poor school attendance, school dropout, and affect children's psychosocial well-being. Finally, family members lost trust in each other after corporal punishment. The child now understands how cruel the adult can be with them if they got caught. From that fear, they will lie more to cover what they think will make the parents angry. Whether parents detect the lie or not, the parent and the child become more distant, and the parents have even fewer chances to interfere and help their children. There are 2 aspects that need to be fixed in order to end corporal punishment. The first one is about the children's law in Vietnam. The children's law delivers severe sentence, death penalty and lifetime prison if there are deathly accidents. If there are health problems from the abuse, the culprit goes to jail from 6 months to 3 years or non-custodial penalty for up to 3 years. If the culprits commit less dangerous acts, they will pay a penalty from 5,000 to 1,000 VND. It is concerning that there is no mention of punishment for encouraging suicide. There is a big gap between the applicable punishments for the same type of crime, which makes suspicions for bribes and kickbacks. The second aspect is about the current public opinion about corporal punishment. Many victims got backlashed in social media for not being able to protect themselves, especially if they are male. It's not only inconsiderate but also toxic. Victims tend to hide the incidents in fear of being humiliated by people. If these attitudes won't change, many victims will remain in abuse instead of report. Here is what I conclude from the report. Corporal punishment is so common in Vietnam. It can be seen sometimes in public spaces like the park or even in the street. But it becomes much more severe in school, at home, in the workplace for underage laborers and the orphan. Then who is responsible? It is clear that the one who did the corporal punishment is evil. Under certain circumstances, the evils are the victim themselves. Some of them suffer the same kind of punishment. Some of them have problems with emotional control. If the environment, like the media, the witnesses, and the law, stays unresponsive and biased, corporal punishment will still exist with permanent consequences. There are many witnesses, but only a handful of these witnesses take action. The media coverage is heavily biased. They just highlight the video when the culprits make confessions and make them look terrible to contrast with the police that is quick to respond and deliver the social justices. But I never see them take any actions until the victim is recorded or transferred to hospitals. These factors need to be changed for a better environment. That is the end of the presentation. Thank you for listening.